Hello and welcome back. So we are on part 2 of GRAZIA magazine summer 2022. So let's pick up where we left off. Okay, this is pretty dreadful here. This kind of quasi tuxedo, right? This is the even more formal. This is like a dinner jacket, a dinner. It's tails. Was it like tails and top hat? Was the old saying, right? And it was a little bit more formal, actually more formal than a tux. But anyways, this is dreadful with the right. It was supposed to be a white dinner jacket, which doesn't look all that bad really, but then the shorts and this is a boot and it's open-toed, so this is really quite dreadful. So I wanted to cover this because this is important. When you shoot a lot of white, so if you look at your histogram, sometimes photographers, especially new photographers, they can be fooled by the histogram, right? Because some people say, and it's totally untrue, a histogram should kind of look somewhat like a normal distribution or a bell curve, right? And I'm saying that's untrue. So you have like a bell curve comes up like this and then it flattens back out. And a lot of people say that's what a histogram should look like, and that's totally false. Because if you were to look at these images in a histogram, they'd be totally stacked to the right side, I believe, right? Yeah, it's darks and then mids and then whites, right? So your histogram would kind of be level, right? And then it would just spike on the right side because of all these whites. So, and that would be normal. So please, when you hear people say that about histograms should look like a normal distribution or a bell curve, completely disregard that, okay? This is nice. We see this boot again. We saw this boot with this quasi peace sign some time ago, and this is making another appearance. It's okay. Again, we're getting a lot of white. This looks like it's actually exposed properly. This is overexposed. Right, I notice in this shoot, some of these images are actually overexposed. Okay, so I want to credit this photographer. This is a different shoot, of course. And it's photographed by Sven Banziger. Okay, so now you'll see these images here. These images are fairly well printed and they're just jumping off the page. So what this is, I don't know if this is full frame in one of these new high megapixel full frames or this is medium format. I would tend to think this is a medium format camera because the sense of space in the photos is very apparent, and it's hard to get that from full frame, even if it's a high resolution sensor like 60 megapixels, right? It's not so much the megapixel count that gives the sense of space, it's the size of the actual sensor, meaning it looks like we've departed full frame and we're now into medium format. And again, there's separation here. You can see the separation of the subjects in the playing field, and the way you get that sense of space is by a large sensor. So this is really wonderful photography, and I'll show you here. It doesn't require a lot of analysis, but you can see like the dimensionality, what I'm getting at, the z-plane. So this in mathematics, right? This is x, and this is y, and this is z, right? The sense of space. This is the z, and you can really pick this up in these images. The z-plane is really coming through, and again, that's from a large sensor. So I do believe this, and look at the print quality. They've really specified a high resolution print job on this, and it looks wonderful. Nice color saturation. It's not overly saturated, but it is a little bit saturated, right? It just looks like they just bumped the saturation slider. just, oh, and I said this years ago, if you ever wonder what the difference is between I'll explain that, between saturation and vibrance. When you pull a saturation slider right, everything goes for the right, including skin tones. So you will alter the skin tones, and you can even get that Oompa Loompa effect from Willy Wonka, right? You can start turning skin orange. But vibrance, here's what the vibrance is programmed, right, to the software, the code. When you pull vibrance, all the colors are saturated except for skin tones. So saturation, everything goes for the right. Vibrance leaves skin tones intact, but everything else goes for the right. Okay, so I covered that about 2 years ago, and I just wanted to put that out there as a reminder. Okay, again, good photography, really wonderful colors. And again, I thank the editor-in-chief of this magazine, because this is an editorial, right? These aren't advertisements. So he's picking up the tab for this on these editorials, not an advertiser. So the editor-in-chief, they're footing the bill for this high print resolution. And it looks marvelous, wonderful job. And you can see here, this is where that third dimension Z is really coming into, right? You can pick up Z here in the playing field, right? You can see a lot of separation between the model and the playing field. And again, I'm guessing that's medium format. Here, you're getting the sense of Z between the model and the end zone, right? You're picking up separation. Really beautifully shot. Okay, that ends that shoot. And here we're picking up, this is really creative, and I want to credit the photographer and the stylist. So let me check here. Alberto Pelayo is the photographer. Anna Castan is the stylist. So I want you to look at these. This is really well done, right? This is deeply artistic, wonderfully executed. So they've done a really, really good job in the artistic portion. Again, I think it's more Anna Castan as the stylist, but you still have to credit the photographer. But my point is the styling is wonderful. So here, now I think these are themes like from fairy tales or from stories. I don't know what this would be. Right, loosely maybe the Tower of Babel. I'm really not getting it. I don't know what story or fairy tale this would come from as far as this ladder going up into the sky. Right, I know it's not Jack and the Beanstalk, because obviously that's a beanstalk, but here, right, this is the magic carpet ride, okay, into the 7 layers of heaven. Right, you can see here, and it's really, really well done the way they've styled this. So I know for sure this is kind of like a story, but I don't know what. And if you do know, please add it in the comment section what fable or story that would come from. Here is another one. Again, I don't know if it's based on a fable, but it's beautifully done. Really well done. I'll just give you a second to drink that in, because it's really well done. Okay. Another one. I'm trying to get this glare off of here. A little bit of like origami, right? That is really cool. Okay, so that ended that shoot. And again, high praise to the photographer and stylist. And I thought this was cool. This is kind of what the British, in America, U.S., we know the arcade as like where you go to play pinball machines and video games, right? But in Great Britain, arcade has a completely different meaning, and this would kind of be an arcade in Great Britain. But here, this is Milan, Italy, and this is so cool. I want you to see these shops. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East, and when you go through Dubai and Kuwait, you'll see this because there's so much oil money in the Middle East. You'll see these high-end shops in the malls of the Middle East. But I'm going to tell you the shops here. This is a mall or an arcade in Milan, Italy. Okay, this is Louis Vuitton. This is Prada. And this is Versace. But my point is, if you go up and down, these are all different stores. Very high-end. Hermes, I'm sure Hermes is in here, right? Celine, all the big brands are in here. But this is like super high-end, right, for the very wealthy. And I've shown you this before, these bags. Like a Coach for the average person, a bag for like Coach, Kate Spade, Michael Kors, those are about $300, $200 to $300. But when you get into Louis Vuitton, Hermes, those bags cost anywhere from $6,000 to $25,000 US dollars. So that is extremely high end, and you can tell here just by this decor, right? This is really for the very wealthy. And this model, she's a wonderful model. I don't see much of her anymore. This is Imam Haman, and she is wonderful. She reminds me, Kaya Gerber can pull off any look, no matter how they dress her. She can pull it off. That's why she's a wonderful model. Margot Robbie can pull off any look. Linda Evangelista from the 1990s could pull off any look. And that's the benchmark of a top model, is no matter how they dress her, no matter what kind of costume they put her in, or period piece or whatever, even of different ethnicity, they can pull it off. And she is one of them. No matter how they dress her, she can pull it off. So she's one of the best models in the world, but she's kind of disappearing from the scene. She's kind of sunsetting now in her career. But you used to see much more of her. But I just wanted to praise her and kind of thank her for her many years. Just one of the best models in the industry. Okay, so that was relatively short. We're at 13 minutes. And that concludes part 2 of GRAZIA, summer 2022. If you enjoyed this, I would sincerely appreciate a thumbs up. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you.